Namaste. Hello my friends, it's Lee. This video is going to be about a little extra insight to demonic attacks and the spiritual tug of war and defending oneself from these things and understanding the nature of the origin of these things and what one might be able to do with it, about it. I'm a person that dealt with it. I've been at the time of this recording, I've been a mystic myself for a good 15 years, and I've experienced a lot of things, and so have many people. If you're watching this, then you have some experience yourself, and or you're interested in the subject matter. Very well. It's always good to talk about these things because there are deeper realities than the 3D, and it's good to discuss them and open them up rather than keep them hidden or think that we're alone with our experiences and struggles with these things, because we're certainly not. They're actually common enough, and whether someone is awake and has experience and perceives it or not, they are real nonetheless. Again, the good quote was, "Truth is not dependent on mere human belief. We investigate if something is true or not, in and of itself," basically. So, going with this, I'm not sure if you can read it well, but up here it says, defending against demonic attacks, the spiritual tug of war. The tug of war is taking place inside of us. It is taking place in the universe. It is about dualities that by necessity must exist. And if we are people that are looking for the enlightenment, trying to find memory, trying to find insight, trying to find graduation, trying to find the highest heavens, then this is what we're doing one way or the other, out exploring a vastness of experiences throughout an entire cosmos, physically and non-physically, but to a point, from an origin to a return, in the time that we each deem ourselves to take, and that's really how it goes. So, with the illustration, and I'm trying to keep it simple as much as possible, we're looking at the God, the isness, Brahman, different names, we can call it what we like, but we're talking about that which everything is contained in, is all connected by, for the most part, unseen essence, an unseen being which we can call the Brahman or the God, the isness. When we're talking about a God of a personality, one of the light, the core of the balance, then I just simply call it here the pure core of balanced source. So the God of gods is the calm center of the universe that understands everything. But while we're trying to depict it as a core or a specific point, it's not necessarily to have a specific point, but rather we are permeated in the isness. So now these things can be investigated. You don't have to take someone's word for it, but in a lot of scriptures, a lot of philosophical writings, that's not always about book knowledge, but the point being persons that had experience with things and had the time to think about things and then wanted to share it with others. So it's not just a book that exists out of thin air, it's people that have direct experience in their thoughts. So when we get deep into the mystic, then we can start to have a credibility in these things and a memory, and then we'll see the unity of it. When other people come to the same conclusions, then these are, most certainly, they are irrefutable truths. In the higher ways, we come to the same conclusions. So, with the tug of war, so to say, we are within the vastness of God, the vastness of that aspect of the Brahman. And in the core of the Brahman, even though the God allows for all things, but the source of sources, the perfection of mind, the perfection of heart, is balanced to perfection. So all the cosmos has entities, consciousness, conscious thinking and feeling entities, Atmans. In some languages, mind and heart has one word, such as in ancient Pali, which was very intelligent of those individuals, because really it's not mind and heart separate, or I'm just consciousness, but we're also feelings. But we are not just feelings, but we are consciousness. But the two really are one. When a soul spark, if we want to liken it to an ocean, as the old saying goes, and not to make it a cliche, but it's very nice way of describing it. If you picture the great God as ocean, and then we are the drops that come out of it, but we are ultimately we are it. We are by natural default one with it. But breaking off from it, choosing to be individual and free from it, to experience many things, to experience and appreciate and reappreciate everything in the entire isness, then we take these trips. We fall out, we go in, we go to different places, many incarnations, many places. Real esoteric teachings, whether from ancient Hindus, from the Buddhists, from even esoteric Christian groups, Sufi mystics, anywhere, real thinkers, the great philosophers of China who understood the yin and the yang, they all are saying the same thing. These are the deeper truths. Not you have one life, there's only one God that has this distinct personality only. Okay? There are many aspects to it, but the higher truths say the same thing. So we are in the tug of war. Every person is giving off positive and negative thoughts, having and experiencing positive and negative thoughts. Every person is experiencing positive and negative emotions. On a daily basis, we experience both. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, good feelings, bad feelings. These are the dualities, these are the polarities that by necessity must exist. But what we're trying to do, whether we know it or not, whether we're even thinking about it or not, whether we are deliberately contemplating it or not, or just living our lives doing our thing, either way, we share these common things by default. And some persons are looking for higher knowledge beyond the earth, and some are just happy enjoying the experience that they wanted to have and incarnate and do. Nonetheless, it's not up to us to invent truth, it's not up to us to think that it's dependent on us, but we can pierce the layers and the veils as we are ready to do so. So the individual soul, I don't know, this sounds elementary, but I'm just trying to make an introduction to it. So when we are giving off and looking for the positive, we become more positive. This is called our becoming enlightenment. And then enlightened is not being, in my video just previous to this one, it's not being only good and having an anger and a hatred towards the darkness. It's having an understanding of the darkness and a tolerance as to why it is there. Right? The message of the Christ was of, for example, the Jesus, famous figure, was forgiveness of sins, to call them that. People acting in a mode of ignorance. So they would come out of modes of being and incarnations and whatnot that are causing cycles of harm to that individual, and that individual is causing harm to others. And we've all done it. So it's a message of come out of it. But it's to understand both. So the light and the dark, the different poles, positive, negative, in many names we can call them flowery words or not. But they are what they are. And this is by automatic default. Even in physics and science we can see positive, negative. But it is to a purpose, and it is to a spiritual essence as to why that all these things are that are. So each person, whether they're deliberately looking for enlightenment or not, or trying to find more, trying to learn, trying to grow, even people that talk about evolution theory, well, what are we evolving to if not some kind of perfection? So even that can become a contradiction when someone wants to decapitate something. But anyway, we are at the level that we are at. But I'm just saying, what are we evolving into? So, with an individual person, there's the tug of war within. Like we said, positive and negative in the heart, positive and negative in the mind. But then there are also entities that are around us. Okay, now we're talking about demonic attacks and sleep paralysis and whatnot. It's very real. I've experienced it a lot, and a lot of other people have, and I know that it's true for a fact. It's not someone to write a book who never experienced it, because someone who takes persons and has do study cases or make document people that come and talk about it, but they themselves didn't understand it. They don't have the experience. Because you have psychologists who write books and talk about it being purely in a mental illness or whatnot, but it's not. When you pierce the veils of reality, it's much deeper than that. You can have even a mystic, even a Buddhist monk or some kind of healer, and treats people that had these things, but they themselves, if they didn't experience it, they're a little bit less valid than someone who did. That's all I'm saying, is that someone who, like myself, who's attempting to try to make some clarity simply on the basis of that I experienced it. If I had not, I would never even make a video like this. That's just what I'm saying. In all fairness. Namaste Amitabha. Now, we have entities who are permeated and full of the darkness, of the counter kingdom, and entities who are full of the light. We all have friends, we all have invisible forces that are there, and sometimes we can see them, they're not always invisible. We have invisible forces, mainly they are that are coaxing and prompting us, and coming towards us due to our feelings, being attracted or repulsed due to our level of being. So if we are giving off, I'm not sure if you can see it very well, but I just did purple lines and black lines just to differentiate. And purple and black lines to differentiate, and here too. Now, black is just going to stand for the emptiness, the negativity, and the purple for the positive for this purpose of the video. Now, the more we give off negative, the more we are feeling negative, the more we attract other entities who are of the same kind, particularly and especially of the spiritual sort, in the astral, in the 4D or the 5D, something like this. You will have that. That's why people say these sleep paralysis things happened to me, particularly when I was in a lot of duress, stress, negative emotions. Not because those emotions simply created a chemical reaction that made me have a bad thing. It's so much deeper than that. That level of science is blind to the deeper truths, simply because it's basing it only on those things, thinking the root source and the cause is chemicals, is mere thought. But mere thought doesn't exist, is not contained only within physicality, it's not a palpable thing. So when we pierce the veil of these things, we start to understand the nature of the mode of being and the essences of other realities. And within that, we have the negative entities, and then we each also have the positive entities. Each person is said to have a personal guide or an angel. I can swear and testify that it's true. I have contact with my own friend, or friends for that matter, but anyone can who wants to. It's a matter of taking the steps to do so. So it's not just we're a person in confusion trying to find reality, trying to find the God, or even it's happening to atheists and agnostics and different things like this. But the fact is we think it's only negative stuff, but there's also, the good news is that there's positive help as well. It's very important for us to remember that. Now someone often likes to say these kind of quotes, well, excuse me, if God is real, why does he let bad stuff happen? But the God doesn't want to be the ultimate micromanager of micromanagers. We have free will. We have to experience the reactions of our actions. We have to understand the karmic consequences of what we do. We have to understand that we are chose to come out and be an individual and have all the experiences of these things, and it's up to us to do something about it. It's up to us to permeate ourselves with knowledge, truth, and real power. So while the good forces are there, but if we're feeling negative, if we're putting blame, if we want someone to do the hard work, the dirty work, if we're being spiritually lazy, for example, then it can become problematic and difficult, of course, because who wants to just, drag you through? It's like if you're raising a child, you're raising the child to become an adult, not to stay a child forever, for example. Although we can stay like children forever in a mode of innocence, maybe, but that's a different subcategory. The fact of the matter is, we have to empower ourselves. We have to enlighten ourselves. We have to, if we're going to become truly responsible individual beings within the great Brahman, then we can't just have our hand carried the whole time. Sometimes we will have our hand carried, and we will get the assistance, but it's to a point of our own development, not to a point of forever being led, especially being led blindly. That's why a lot of the major religions in the world are very bad, because they want you to go like this and say, take me. But for the point of even those was to get people to be enlightened. Even the Jesus said, find the kingdom, it is within you. Be perfect even as the Father in heaven is perfect. So it's not for nothing. But in order for us to find perfection, we have to conquer and master the light and the dark within us. And when we do so, and the more we do so, then other individual entities who are on their own path, when we encounter them, we'll have assistance for them or not. So I try to draw, because an entity in its original form doesn't look like anything. It's more like a spark of light. it's not even a sphere. It's hard to describe it. But for simplicity purposes, it's more like a sphere than anything else. And that sphere, that soul spark, that Atman, can take on many shapes in astral forms. So when you have the negatively charged, just for example, to go on this, when you have the negatively charged soul spark, then you have that being manifesting as something, looking at taking on a form and a shape. Here I've tried to draw just like a black ghost, and looking like a penguin or something, part of my bad drawing. But here it's coming out and taking on a form. Okay. Even there are many video capturings and documentaries that show a soul spark turning into a humanoid shape, particularly looking like a ghost, looking like a human, and then going back into a soul spark, and then going through a wall or something like that. There are many videos that prove that, but these are things that people have been saying for thousands of years, long before any video cameras and such were available. So it's not all, I mean, some of them can be false, sure they can, but a lot of them are very real. But the wonderful thing is that they're not saying anything new. These have been said before, so it just validates it. So when a darkly charged negative entity wants to, when they feel negative vibes from thoughts and emotions, and the two are most intricately linked, absolutely, then they will come and go, oh, what's going on here? Because they themselves will feel empty or bereft, incomplete, angry, very sad, very bitter, and as such, because they feel misery, they want closure, they want justification, really they want to be healed, really they want to find light, healing, and love, but being so empty and deprived of it, as they've done to themselves of their own consequence, but even they have to choose to break those habits and come to the light. But of course, they like to pester others, and I know that very well myself. So, when we are giving off negativity, bad thoughts, negative emotions, depression, a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, a lot of crazy thoughts, a lot of unhealthy, not very productive thoughts, and I've had them myself. I know all about it. Okay? When that happens, then the entities will hover around us and bother us, and a lot of people understand that you've experienced it. They can and will try and put a lot of fear into your heart, call them a fear wind or a fear wave, a fear attack, a paralysis even. Yes, they can. They'll try to give so much fear that you're just shocked and stunned. They can whisper, so to say, transfer thoughts to make you even more negative. They can literally put their astral self and whisper in your ear. People talk about in the nose, talk about in the mouth. People talk about even being raped. Like you have the incubus and the succubus that will try to sexually molest someone, especially when we're sleeping, obviously. We're talking about a lot of this has to do with when we're in a mode of rest, in a mode of being very vulnerable, because ultimately darkness is cowardice. So they like to go on the attack when they see someone in a vulnerable state. You're weak, I will feel strong if I can bully you. Just like even incarnate, when you have bullies, you can have tyrants with great power and money who like to abuse and push their strength around, or you have bullies in the schoolyard. But it's kind of the same thing. Because they feel empty and weak, they feel strong when they can hurt someone and make someone feel down. That's how they get their kicks, because inwardly they're not very powerful at all, because they're empty of having an understanding of the balance. So if we consider ourselves in the middle, some people are more positively charged than others, some people are more negatively charged. But if we picture the quote-unquote average human as being in the middle, then it's kind of like a tug of war of coaxing and suggestions. What do you want to do with your free will? And then by default there are the polarities that are there, the forces, as even St. Paul said in the Bible, the powers and the principalities. We are wrestling with the powers and the principalities. As the Hindus would like to say, we are having a struggle with the modes of nature. And nature is certainly not just the physical, palpable. The modes of nature, the modes of being, we're wrestling with them. We're having a fight with them. We're combating them to try and find our true self, our true nature. What is it? It's all these things, but how do we stop feeling all these unhealthy or these difficulties, these fights, these conflicts, where ultimately, whether we know it or not, we really are trying to find a cessation of conflict. Cessation of conflict can only be done when we understand the balance and also the allowance for all things, even the allowance of the dark side. why it must exist, because free will has to exist. Otherwise it's micromanaged, it's stagnant, there's no point. So we each have to come and find it for ourselves in a wholesome way as much as possible, recommending to others to get out as much as possible. But we can't force someone to come out. So let's look at our lightly charged friend, our angel, our guide, our bodhisattva, our kind, loving, patient friend who's trying to help, is this doing the same things. These entities trying to get us to become positive. They will whisper and suggest things, not in a negative way like you better do this, or like they don't put a clause or something, say more along the lines of if you do this you might be happy, and if you don't you might receive that. Up to you to try. Okay? More gentle, but they can be strong too, and these guys can have fights sometimes, but our free will is respected. You can't have like a, pardon the term or however you want to say it, but you can't have a big brother type always come to the rescue. We are here to empower ourselves, like we keep saying. So, for this illustration here, I try to draw some of the main chakras, just simply to say mind and heart, and awareness and enlightenment, and then the connection between the two, the many. So people say 7, 12, 20, it's not really the point. But the connection of the many as a being in balance, as a being empowered in light and knowledge and wisdom and great aptitude, intellect and in emotion. So we are there in the tug of war, trying to find our own decision, our own mind, our own heart, our balance, and it'll end up leading to a common thing. But like we keep saying, if we're giving off negativity, then it'll come. We have to try our best to conquer it inside. If we conquer it inside, because we can't just go on a warpath. Some people fancy themselves as zealots and going on the God's crusade, and I'll kill all the demons and I'll condemn everyone who doesn't believe. Okay, but that's also a bad thing to do, because you have to understand the allowance of why things must be, and keep going on the fight. But then if we ourselves are imbalanced, imperfect, angry, violent ourselves, then we're not really doing that much better. Didn't Jesus even say even the thieves love their own kind? What more are you doing than they? So the point being, when we empower ourselves with mind and heart in love, light, wisdom, balance, and forgive and understand why the darkness is there, and if someone is acting negatively, look at the source and the reason why, then it becomes easier to deal with it. Then we become strong to say with the calm authority, here's how you can be happier or not. It's your choice, but you don't have to affect me. When these dark ones try to bother us and they see they're not getting anywhere, they'll go away. And then we are also a witness for them. Because we don't have to hate them and condemn them. We say, we pity you. You could be happy. If you want to stay miserable, ask yourself why. Feeling miserable all the time, it's not getting you anywhere. It's very counterproductive. So that's what we're trying to do. Is honestly, it's not about having a large book or a philosophical debate. It's really about finding calm and peace and knowledge and empowering ourselves, and when we do so, then we can help others do so, whether they are also fellow humans in a body at the moment, or whether they are out of a body in a different astral form. But it is for the memory of going back to the pure core balanced source, the Buddha mind, if you will, the God of gods, the King of kings, the Queen of queens for that matter. It's not about the sexes. It's about the balance of all things, and realizing we are a soul spark having a journey with the allowance of all things, because we have free will and because we are to experience all things. And where are you on your journey and what do you want to do with it? To stop these guys from bothering you if it's happening to you, I'm just saying the simple truth. The more positive you become yourself, up here, in here, and the two are one, the more you do that, by an automatic default, these guys' power waxes for a moment, and then wanes and wanes and goes away. You'll be able to say to them with the word, no thanks, you're kind of boring. You'll be able to raise your hand and say, be gone. And they will. Sometimes you're going to wake up, you'll even see them. If you feel like throwing a punch, well, I can't stop you. Something like that. Maybe I'll do it sometimes, I don't know. Because in the mode, if we're in a grumpy mood, even I've been tempted to lunge at them. But mostly I just want to stand with my heart and say, yeah, what of it? And let the heart energy push them away, because that works all the best. So that is something to think about. A light-charged being, a dark-charged being. We are a bit of both, or a lot of both, or leaning more towards one or the other. But to break out of the cycle of misery, you gotta leave the darkness behind, and to get into the positivity, attach yourself to light and understand the balance, and understand and pity that, because that too is the Brahman, that too is us. This too is the Brahman, this too is us. We're a combination. These guys can be stopped very simply. You can even talk, just simply talk to them and just say, you're not getting anywhere, it's just not a real point. I don't feel like putting up with it. I'm not going to put up with it. I'm charging myself in light. It's stronger than your dark negative energy. But I also feel bad for you. I wish I could give you a hug. Say that to them. Oh, what? You'll break their heart and then start them on their own path of repentance. It's very possible. It's very possible. When they incarnate in a human body and they are angry and bitter and selfish, okay, in a body, out of a body, selfishness, not selfishness, whatever. But the dark types, you can see them in a body or out of the body just by the energy. It's not always about shape and form. We're talking about a type of essence, a type of being. Looking one way or the other, having a body or not having a body. We can treat them in the same manner. They can be violently overcome. A being of light can overpower them or something like that, or they will clash. But to change it, to give a lasting fix, is to have inner enlightenment. When we do it to ourselves, like I keep saying, we help another to do it. You don't have to be a victim, you don't have to be vulnerable to find the strength with which to combat them, and that is simply by having a positive charge. The more of a positivity we feel inside, then it's an automatic default to overcome that. Because we've overcome it inside, we can overcome it outside. It's that simple. Anyways, if anyone has any questions, you can write it in the comments or you can private message me. I'll get back to you when I have the time and the energy. But other than that, that's just basic. It's just simple math. It really is just simple math. It's just simple math. And it's very nice to find our memory of our true self and to become enlightened, to leave the negative things down, and then by doing so, like I said, you can help others to do the same thing. Okay? It's simple as that. Namaste, much love and well-wishing for you. And I will be making more videos. Check my other ones if you feel inclined or not. It's all the same to me. Love and health be with you. Catch you on the flip side.